What are the fundamentals that we can track in metrics that people should be paying attention to closely every single month?
Let's start with every single week.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
One of the things is to watch cash. I mean, I'm a big proponent of cash. Watch how much cash is coming in. Watch how much cash is going out. I've said this before. People say cash is cold and hard. It's not. It's warm and it's soft, and you can cuddle it. And nothing will cause you to sleep better at night as the owner of a business than a blanket of cash.
Welcome to the $100 Million Mindset, the source for business owners who aspire to scale, grow, and reach their full potential. Whether you're aiming for 5 million, 10 million, or 100 million. Your hosts are Alan O'Neill, the Irish plumber, who scaled Abacus Plumbing and Cooling to over 100 million, and Turtleneck Todd Liles, a coach to high-performing business leaders and the owner of Service Excellence, are going to help you think bigger, act smarter, and take your business to the next level.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to an amazing episode that we're going to have today of the $100 Million Mindset. I'm here with my good friend and partner, Alan O'Neill, and also we've got Michel with us today. We're going to introduce Matt in just a second, but before we get into that, let me get started with a picture, if you will. I want you to imagine that you're a home service business owner right now, and you're looking out into the future, and you're going, what is going on? And I want to give you a visual to imagine. Imagine the night bus from Harry Potter. And if you've seen that movie, what you know about the night bus is that it's bumpy, it's fast, and it turns on a dime. It turns hard, it turns quick. And right now, if you own a business and you feel like you're riding the night bus, then you're holding on, trying not to get thrown off of this bucking bronco. Some owners are a little steady in their businesses, some are calm, and some are not. And they're making decisions, and some of them are not great. In fact, some of them are panicking right now in today's marketplace. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what happens when people panic, when people freak out, when they start losing money, they start losing profit, and everything starts feeling all like doom and gloom. That's not what this is going to be about. What this is going to be about is how to avoid the doom and gloom. And I think we have someone here that's an expert in it, in Michel. Today's episode is going to be a field guide, and it's going to be a field guide on the topic of private equity, because private equity is in the trades. The economy is going to do what the economy is going to do. Costs are going to go up. Expectations are up. Customer expectations are changing. Employee expectations are changing. All of these things are happening today. And we're going to jump into that. So I'm Todd Liles. I'm the founder of Service Excellence. And I'm here with my partner, Alan O'Neill.
Today, we're sitting down with Michel. Matt's been around the industry long enough to see cycles, trends, hype, and real change. He's built companies like Service Roundtable and Service Nation Alliance. He's known for his prophetic writing styles and his passion for the independent contractor. He's also watched private equity from the inside, and he's not afraid to tell the truth. Matt, thanks for being here. Let's start simple.
Thank you.
So when you look at the trades heading into 2026, Matt, and beyond, what do you really see coming?
Well, this might be a disappointing answer to you, but really, fundamentally, the service business, any service business is a people business, and that's not going to change, right? All the AI in the world isn't going to change that. No matter how much some preach it, it is still going to be a people business. Private equity is going to keep buying companies, and some of the private equity initiatives are going to fail, and some are going to tread water, and some are going to be successful. But that doesn't really affect the independent contractor. See, the independent contractor is only affected by private equity if he's looking for an exit, in which case, that's a different story. I do think that there's a growing rejection of four-year college degrees as the only or the best path for people. I think more people now are looking to the trades. And remember, AI can't turn a wrench. And most people under 30 today who are homeowners of tomorrow can barely screw in a light bulb. So I think there's always going to be demand for the trades.
There always is going to be demand for the trades. I was thinking today in earlier conversations and this morning before we even got here to the studio, like what would we think about when we reflect on AI? Because like right now people see it almost like a real revolution of types. And in some ways it's been compared to the Industrial Revolution. In some ways it's been compared to the nuclear bomb. Now, Matt, you were here through the dot-com era, and the dot-com era changed everything. People made a lot of money there, right? But there was also a bubble that came from it as well. But I think when we fast forward today, we look at the dot-com era, it's a way of life. It made people money. It might have removed some industries, but it didn't remove a lot. It wasn't a nuclear bomb. And I think a lot of people are looking at AI today feeling like it's a nuclear bomb. So before I jump into my main question, what do you see AI as? Like, if you could summarize it in the next 10 years, what do you think the next 10 years of it looks like?
It's a tool, and it's not going to replace people per se. I mean, there may be some gold collar or knowledge workers that get replaced by it, some programmers that get replaced, but still somebody has to look after it and
hmm
and give it quality control check. It's a tool that can help people be more productive and more effective.
That's a good way to
Um,
put it.
and I think you can look at it the same way you looked at the internet. I mean, the internet came on, and man, it's been revolutionary. But did it really change the way the businesses operated?
hmm
I mean, it made them more efficient, but did it fundamentally change the idea of putting butts in trucks and trucks to homes?
Yeah, that's a good point. Man, I heard something from one of my favorite physicists, Alan, which is Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he said something about AI that altered my perspective on it instantly. And he said, like you said, it's a tool, right? It's a wonderful tool for mimicking. He's like, if you said to AI, paint me a picture in the style of Van Gogh of Alan sitting here, it's like, there's probably not very many artists that are going to do it better than AI. They're going to paint Alan looking like in the style of Van Gogh. It's going to be fantastic. He said, if you said, write me a song and do it in the style of Motley Crue, it's probably going to do a great job of it. It's a great mimicker. But if it said, write me a song that's never been heard by humans before, there's nothing like it, and it's going to be a number one hit, it's going to spit out absolute trash. Because what
Sure.
it can't do is be originally creative. And to your point, what I don't think it can ultimately do is replace a human. It cannot have an emotional bond with someone. So, little hot topic AI. Now, here's the main question. Let's go back to business owners. What do you see as the main forces that are pushing on owners right now?
The economy's always there. It's always going to be a factor. The weather's always there. It's always going to be a factor. Stupid government regulations are always going to be there, and they're always going to be a factor. Um, but nothing excuses a contractor from the need for himself to succeed. Um, Look, it's not always easy, but the biggest determinant of whether a contractor is going to succeed or fail is between the ears of the contractor.
Mhm.
And I think that there are contractors that, despite all of the obstacles, will succeed in spite of them, and there are contractors that will let them become an excuse.
Mhm.
And it is first off starting out and making a determination that I will succeed no matter what, and not accepting anything else.
Good call.
Matt, something you said kind of, pushed this question into my mind, if you like. So just a few minutes ago, you said private equity will only affect owners if they want to sell, right? Would you not agree? And I'm from Houston, right? And I would say the top 6, 7 largest companies in Houston are now private equity owned. And so if I was a owner of a private business in Houston right now, I'd be scared to death because of the sophistication of the private equity outfits. They've all got more sophisticated. They have all the top softwares at their disposal. What would you say to the business owner that has no interest in selling right now, but is a little bit scared about the level of competition and the sophistication increasing all the time with these PE groups? Like, what would your advice be to that owner?
Just keep focusing on the fundamentals and doing what you're doing. Look, I remember the days of Sears and Roebuck, and Sears was going to destroy the industry. They were going to take it over. And I actually did work for Sears. And I could remember going on sales calls with these guys where they would get their text message and it would say SBC for Sears Best Customer. And you'd walk into this house and you would see a Craftsman lawnmower in the garage or in the basement, and you'd see Kenmore appliances, and you knew they were going to buy. This is the biggest laydown sale you've ever seen in your life.
Right.
And yet Sears never managed to get more than 2% of the market, right? Sears HVAC anyway. They never managed to get, and they had stores everywhere, and they had guys in their stores in Appliance Central, and they could hang out there and they could generate leads like crazy. They had more leads that these salespeople got than you could imagine, and yet they never got more than 2% of the market.
Mm.
right?
I do also think, Matt, that homeowners are starting to recognize private equity owned companies, and are some homeowners are searching for the independently owned and prefer the independent. I had a call this weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy said, I hope you don't take offense by this, but I'm looking for a tankless water heater. Who would you recommend that's not private equity owned? And I said, well, that's a little bit of a tough one, because I'm still involved with Abacus, right? I would like to put your tankless water heater in. He says, well, I'm not going to do that. I just want you to give me a recommendation. Has any of your guys left and started up on their own? Like, that was his question, which, I mean, fair enough, right?
Yeah.
The person spending the money gets to choose, right? So
It is interesting that it's gotten to the point. I had it happen last week. I had someone reach out to me the day I took Shannon to the doctor for a procedure and said, we need new air conditioning systems, but we don't want to use a private equity company. And they were south of Austin. And I said, well, I actually know a family owned business in Seguin. Family owned business texted me yesterday, said, hey, thank you, appreciate that. They went with us. They didn't want to do business with PE. And that really sounds like I'm pooping down PE's shoulder, and I'm not, because we're going to get into some things that are
absolutely.
good about them. But homeowners, why is that? What's going on there? Like, I think I know, but what do you think?
It's the bogeyman. They're the bogeyman of today. Look, there's been I think a little over 1,000 companies that have been purchased by PE over the last, 4 or 5 years, and there are 150,000 contractors and air conditioning
There you go.
contractors.
Put it in
Mhm.
perspective.
So there's 150,000, and they've bought 1,000. Right?
Right.
That's. I mean, it's. We've always had a bogeyman. When I came into the industry, franchises were the bogeyman. They were gonna take the
Take
industry
over, yeah.
apart. Then we had unfair utility competition, and that was the big bogeyman that nobody was going to be able to compete with. Then we had Wall Street driven consolidation that bought you,
Mhm.
and yet you still ended up owning a company after that. Then we had the big box retailers. There's no way we're going to be able to compete against the big box retailers, and it just goes on and on and on. And don't be surprised if the next bogeyman isn't Amazon.
Mhm.
I mean, there's always going to be a bogeyman,
Right.
and it's always going to be exacerbated because there are going to be people in the trades who make money on contractors' fears, who are going to leverage this and try to persuade you that you need to give me money because I can show you how to survive against the bogeyman of today.
Right.
It is the classic. It is like word for word the sales pitch that we used at what eventually became Certain Path, and at the time it was Contractor Success Group.
Mhm.
And when I started there as a trainer, my second job there was to sell memberships. And yeah, we said the same thing. The big box retailer is going to come after you. The utility company is going to come after you. At the time, they were really getting the franchise going, so they weren't the enemy, right? But it was a big box retailer. It was all these people that were going to be the
They were
enemies.
before that because I
Yeah.
was a franchise and
Yeah.
competed with them.
Well, they weren't because they were going to develop their own franchises eventually, right? So,
Yeah.
but the one that scared people the most was the big box retailer and the utility company. And I can remember in 2004, Walmart rolled out for a limited period of time direct to consumer air conditioners. Buy the air conditioner in Walmart, they'll send their people and install it. And this is a true story. This irritated my wife for 7 years. I wouldn't shop at Walmart until they closed that program down. Seriously, they didn't get $1 of mine. And at the time, I'm like, no. And in retrospect, I realize how ridiculous that is, right? But at the moment, I was so committed to them, like they're not getting a penny. So let's talk about the fundamental.
Well,
Go
one
ahead.
of their test stores was in Denton.
Was it?
I went up there and I've still got a picture that I use of an a condensing unit inside a Walmart with Walmart signage.
Wow.
If I remember, because I had an air conditioning, I know I had a condensing unit that was in there, and I don't know what store it came out of. Someone sent it to me, but I remember the price on it was $2,304. So are you going to pull up and see if you have it?
I'm going to see if I
you
can
have it,
find
will you
it.
share it with us so we
Yeah.
can put it there? So I remember that number though, going, that is so cheap. And the sign was a yellow sign and written in black writing.
Wow. Wow.
I don't
But
know
I think it's interesting what Matt was saying, not necessarily for the podcast here, but one of the talks I give to the techs more than anything else is sticking to the basics, right?
always.
Yeah. And I said, look, I'm married now for 41 years. It's worked for me. When Linda starts saying, you're not listening to me, you're not paying attention, you're not doing your share around the house, I just go back to the basics. Like, I'm a really good husband. I listen. And it gets me out of trouble every time. So I tell the text, hey, when things are not going well, you're not selling, whatever it might be, just go back to the basics. Like, park your truck properly, walk up to the door. Everything we've taught you to do, go back
Absolutely.
to doing that and watch what happens to your sales. And it's what Matt's saying. When I asked him how do independent contractors survive, they get really good at the basics, right? Just keep
Absolutely.
doing it and doing it and doing it.
$897.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Maybe the 2304 was all installed. That is insane.
Mhm.
I mean, when you see a condenser in Walmart at 897 and you're a small business and you walk up and you're an HVAC business in Denton, Texas, you probably think it's over for you.
Oh yeah.
Walmart has one. No one can do
Here.
it cheaper.
Is your central air conditioning system broken or just a tired old energy hog? No need to replace the whole system. Let Walmart show you how to save by only repairing the outdoor portion.
Wow.
So they're really only looking to sell condensers.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was a pure condensing unit change out.
Wow.
That's insane. Well, thanks for the memory. And you know what? Maybe I'm remembering 2304 because in my memory that seems like stupidly cheap, but maybe it was 897. So obviously you've got the picture. Please send that to us.
Sure.
So you said fundamentals. So I'm going to ask you this question. What are the fundamentals that we can track in metrics that people should be paying attention to closely every single month?
Let's start with every single week. Or every
Okay, yeah,
single
let's
day.
do that.
Mhm.
One of the things is to watch cash. I mean, I'm a big
Yeah.
proponent of cash. Watch how much cash is coming in. Watch how much cash is going out. I've said this before. People say cash is cold and hard. It's not. It's warm and it's soft, and you can cuddle it. And nothing will cause you to sleep better at night as the owner of a business than a blanket of cash.
That's right.
So
I got chastised because I made a little post last week about cash brings you so much comfort. And I sort of got chastised for that post, but I still stand by it. There's few things that'll bring you peace like a whole lot of cash sitting in the bank.
well, I posted one where I kind of jumped on something somebody said and about talking about money doesn't give you happiness, and I said yes, money doesn't give you happiness, but neither does poverty. And all in all, if I'm going to be unhappy, I'd rather be unhappy with money than without it. but so but watch your cash, watch your labor efficiency. Your service as labor as a percent of revenue or calls. Same thing for installations. Watch your overhead, watch your lead flow, track what's working. Build a marketing calendar, and create a daily report. I mean, we used to do daily reports to where you looked at what money was you knew was coming in, what bills you knew you were facing, where cash level was, what had happened with the lead flow over the past couple of days. And so you knew where you were at, and that should be at the owner's desk every day.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
totally
and
right.
with today's software systems, there's no reason we can't do that.
Excellent point.
So, Matt, over the next 3 years, what do you think owners will be surprised by most, and why do you believe that?
I think they'll be surprised that things aren't as surprising as they think they're going to be today. I mean, it's going to be. I just don't see it changing all that much. I mean, we're going to become more efficient.
Yeah.
You're going to see some PE failures, and some of them are going to be absorbed by other PE initiatives. We're already seeing some of that.
Mhm.
I don't see that the industry is changing a lot. It is still butts and trucks to homes, and it's a people service business.
Correct. What would have to happen for you to change your mind, Matt, about those metrics?
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Mandami leads a communist takeover of America.
Mm-hmm.
That's about it.
But what popped into my mind when you were saying that, Matt, is that's the same thing I was taught to watch 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it hasn't changed
Yeah.
very much, right? The fundamentals, like stick to the basics. So
I agree.
I agree. Yeah.
What about where people overreact? Where do you see that the most?
I think that they're overreacting on PE's impact. Like you're talking about, you're in Houston. How many contractors are in Houston? You got
Oh.
seven that have rolled up. How many are left?
There's probably more than that rolled up. I just mean the biggest
Yeah, okay.
seven, Matt, right? So there's hundreds, maybe even thousands. Of
Thousands.
contractors.
There's
Yeah,
thousands.
yeah.
And most of them are going to do just fine, and most of them are going to, and a lot of them are going to be really bad at marketing, and they're going to grow by word of mouth in spite of themselves, and they're going to do well enough to make a living for themselves and pay some people to work for them. And if they start doing more things right than wrong, they're going to grow and they're going to prosper. And it's not hard for them to stand up above the crowd and do better. And what PE has done to them has raised the price ceiling in the marketplace.
That's right.
So now it costs more in Houston to change out a system or to get a plumbing repair than it used to. And they can come in here and charge more than they've ever dreamed about. And they're still fairly low priced relative to the private equity companies. So I think that's overblown. I also think that the focus on how AI is going to destroy our industry is overblown. It's going to replace everybody in the office. I've heard that. That's not going to happen. It's going to make people in the office more efficient. But a lot of automation, especially white collar automation, ends up generating more jobs and overhead than it reduces. So really, it comes down to block and tackle better than the next guy, and you're going to win.
Onto the AI thing, I think everybody has that fear of how many jobs is it going to replace. And then here's what I have found myself. Like my son loves to harass me when I use ChatGPT. And I love that he loves to harass me because he wants to remind me that it lies and that it makes people lazy. And I'm like, you're absolutely right, it does. So he asked me the other night, he goes, why are you using it? I said, son, what I'm using it for now isn't for creation. I'm not using it to think for me. What I'm using it for now is to filter through large quantities of data that it can serve up to me the pinpoints that I need fastly. So what I have found in my own case use of AI is like when I'm writing something that isn't per se like an entry to a blog post, I want to create that. But when I'm doing something that's very technically driven, I can sit down and organize my thoughts, do the thinking, do the prompts, and then let AI fill in the blanks that aren't necessarily going to change human nature. They're just making things faster for me. And so this is the point of what I'm making. I haven't found that it has eliminated anyone on my team. What it's done is it's like you said, it's a tool. Instead of trying to drive a nail now with a piece of wood, it's just I'm driving the nail, not even with a hammer, I'm driving it with a nail gun. I'm just getting more work done faster. So that's my perspective. That's where it's shifting to. I was a little bit gloom and doom about it early on too, but now I'm just sort of going, no, you still need people to tell it what to do and just gets work done faster.
Here's an example of how it can help and also how it's overblown.
Okay.
So let's say that you're trying to design processes. You're trying to capture processes in your business. So you're sitting there with a blank paper. You don't know where to start. You haven't gotten anywhere. It's been years. You know you need to do this. You haven't done it. So you go to ChatGPT or another AI program and you ask it to give you a process for making a cup of coffee. And it outlines this process for you. Now you've got this as a starting point, and you go in, and it's not really the way we do it. We do these things differently, and so you can go in and modify it and change it and adjust it, but it gets you started, and it saves time, and it gets you over that initial block. Doesn't necessarily save you any time because you still got to go in there and adjust it. So you're going to spend just as much time on that to make it fit you. But that's an example.
Yeah, it's like a painter having a frame. Now you get to paint inside the frame.
I also know this is an interesting one. I know an individual, I won't name the person's name, who has loaded so much stuff about this person into ChatGPT and uses ChatGPT as a personal coach. And this is in a corporate environment, and the person uses it before going into a meeting with the boss to understand how to present things that will affect the, have the better shot at reaching the boss and connecting and communicating. And I was sent the whole long list of stuff, and I read through a bunch of it, and it was fascinating to me. And I think that that's an unexplored area that we haven't really thought about. And I
Yeah.
think that that's really where there's potential when we look at the ability for ChatGPT to be a coach for our technicians and to provide one-on-one coaching that we contractors can't really afford today.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you can do it with someone like your group to sort of be an oversight to that and just touch on that, it can make your people, it could leverage their ability and make them that much more powerful. And I think that's a really interesting thing to explore, but we don't know where it's going to go. But I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's something that I think could be really positive.
Yeah, I think so. So on the topic of positives and getting it back to private equity, one of the things that you wrote inside of that thread that sort of made me go, I got to get Matt in here between you and Landon that was going back and forth, was you said private equity actually can be a net positive. So I want you to tell us why you said it can be a net positive, because there's good things about it.
Oh, absolutely. Okay. And first off, I'd be hypocritical because I sold to private equity, right? If I, if I sat there and just railed against it, well, I'm not going to give the money back. I mean,
Right. Right.
and
Oh, shucks.
we talked about the book that I'm writing with Brandon Jacob on the business exit roller coaster. We talked to 100 different companies, and nobody we talked to said they'd give the money back. On the sale of their companies. That's the first place where it really affects the industry. It affects people is trying to exit. So there is, if we back up, let's say pre-COVID, you wanted to sell a contracting company, you were looking at a multiple of around 4x, and if you're really good, maybe 5x. And today, that nobody would even
Talk to
think
you
about
yeah.
anything that low. So it has raised the prices of companies. It has allowed a lot of companies owners to become millionaires, multimillionaires, and to have an exit when before they may have had to work in the company until they just closed the doors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All that is an extremely positive aspect. It has also raised the spotlight on the trades. An example was the Wall Street Journal article about this is the new home of millionaires, is plumbing and HVAC. And it's created an environment where other companies are looking to invest into the trades because they see it now as a positive growth environment. So now we've got money pouring in. It's not just private equity money. It's money that's coming in from software companies and from other technology companies. And they're seeing that this is a great marketplace and I should be in there and I should play in that. And that's creating more opportunities. When a company gets bought by private equity, the very first thing that happens is prices get raised. And so like we just talked about earlier, that raises the price ceiling in the marketplace. So, the biggest problem that we have in the industry is contractors undercharge, right? And it's also the easiest to fix. Well, private equity goes in, they immediately start raising prices on everything, and they've got to because their overhead is so high. No matter how good they buy, their overhead is still in there. There's a whole layer of overhead that didn't exist before. So they got to raise prices, and they do that. Which creates opportunities for contractors to raise their prices and still be below the ceiling set by the private equity companies. Yeah. That's a positive. That allows you to pay more, and that's a positive. They have, as a rule, raised benefits and increased those, and that has meant contractors have had to up their game just to compete, and that really is a net positive too, especially for raising prices so that we can afford to provide better benefits so that our guys can have health insurance, and vacations, which they should, and that's also made the industry more attractive to them. Plus, one of the things that private equity tends to do, not everyone, but they tend to go in there and the thumb gets put down on that technician, that plumber, that field service guy to sell. And a lot of those guys that are really good at fixing things don't like to sell, right? And they'll sell, but they don't like this constant pressure to sell, and that's all that's talked about. And they don't like being a number. And usually when the original owner walks away, that's about the time they've had it. And they become open to going to work for a more family-oriented company with more of a family atmosphere where they're going to be an individual with a name and not just a number. And that's a great opportunity for a lot of contractors to go out and acquire seasoned technicians and plumbers who don't have a lot of baggage. That's always been the problem. We go and we hire a plumber from somebody else. he's got a lot of baggage with him or he wouldn't be looking. Well, right now, private equity is pushing some of these guys without baggage really out the door, and the independents can pick them up. So it's a great opportunity to hire. All those are positives from this, and none of those have a negative impact on any contractor.
So, Matt, where would you say it goes sideways? What patterns do you see when owners or ex-owners feel burned?
It's when they put the wrong people in charge, right?
Right.
So and it's a dilemma. So you can hire somebody that has run a large organization, or you can hire somebody that understands the trades. Rarely could you find somebody that can fill both, right? And so there's a tendency too among PE types to assume that they know more and they are better than the operators. You can't be that good. I bought you. You
Right.
can't be that good. You work for me. But while they may know numbers, most of them are incapable of operating a business. And the problem with owners is they have to recognize that it's not their company anymore. It doesn't belong to them. They need to look at their bank account. Like every time the company that bought us would do something that irritated me, I'd open up my phone and I'd go to my Edward Jones account and I'd look at the balance and I'd say, I can handle this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not their company and they've been well compensated. And, it's easy to say, it's hard to absorb.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but it's not your company. You sell your house, you can't go back and gripe about what color they painted the interior walls, what wallpaper they used. You sell your car, you can't complain that they turned it into a lowrider.
Mm-hmm.
You sold it. It's not yours. Same thing with your company.
Yeah. So when PE starts messing with the operations inside, and I'm not asking about you, but the type of things that would make someone go, let me go look at my bank account. Oh, I can handle this. What does that look like in actuality in the real world? What does it messing with the operations look like?
First thing they do is to raise prices, we talked about. Sooner or later, they're going to start dictating that you've got to buy from these vendors that we've got some kind of deal cut with. And where that gets in the way, and usually it erodes after the owner leaves, but the owner's got relationships with potential other vendors, other territory managers, other distributors. And now he's being asked to get rid of those and go buy from the approved vendors. That rubs some of them the wrong way. And there may be a reason why he's buying from this other guy because he's got great service and he doesn't get it from the approved vendor. Then they centralize HR, and this is sort of this they've got the central HR, but it is no savings whatsoever because HR was something that the office manager did as part of her job. Okay, she's still there now. Her job is to fight for the members of the team with HR at the corporate level. So now she's turned from managing the HR function to being the advocate and ombudsman with the HR department at corporate, which now is a whole layer of overhead that gets thrown onto the bottom line in the overhead category that didn't exist before. At some point, they're going to push for some centralized software package if you don't already have it, and so you're going to have to disrupt the company to put in the new package, which may or may not be ideal for what you're trying to do, and you've got to adjust and change everything. That may or may not be bad over time. Who knows? At some point, a 20-something that's located somewhere else in the country is going to take over the marketing and is going to spin like crazy and experiment and play and have fun on digital marketing and digital this and digital that, and the results may or may not follow, but surely the overhead will. But I think that the biggest issue is when they look inward and everything is focused internally and it's not focused on the customer and the community. And this is when corporate politics starts coming into play. And within 2 years, the owner is typically gone or is removed.
Yeah. So, Todd, I'd like to interject my experience here with PE. So I sold to the first PE group in 2012, and I'm still employed by one of the PE groups 14 years later, which I think is probably unusual in the industry.
Unheard of.
Yeah.
I think you're probably the longest tenure person.
Maybe, but here's what I think. And here's what I've told people that have contacted me and said, should I sell or should I not sell? I say, it's like getting married. And you should give the new partner you should be scrutinize the new partners just as much as you would scrutinize someone that you're about to get married to. Right? You need to be sure and this is if you intend to stay, you need to be sure that you can work together, you can live together, because these are the people you're going to spend the most time with.
Absolutely.
In your day, even more so maybe than your spouse. But I think what happens is people forget that they've got a large check in the bank and start to scrutinize every decision. I feel like I've been fortunate with the 3.5 partners I've had since I sold. And I know I'm probably not the norm, but I do think sometimes the number blinds some people and they don't give as much consideration to who the partner is that they should give up front. So I just think if you're selling and walking away, maybe it doesn't matter as much, especially if you don't care what happens to your employees, which I don't recommend, but there are some people like that, right? But I think you have to consider who is the partner, what's going to happen to your employees, and if you have to walk away, if you're planning on staying and you have to walk away, are you okay? Do you have enough money to go on? Because there's really the good, the bad, and the ugly when it comes to PE. We've heard all the stories. So.
Well, you kind of came up in a conversation that I was having with a contractor. I think it was either Monday or Friday. And I was saying that you've been with PE for a very long time. And they go, that's weird. How long? I'm like, over 10 years. And they go, that's really weird. Who is it?
You said he's really weird.
they were talking about just that you've been with them that long. And I said, it's Wrench Group. And immediately the guy goes, well, that makes sense. They might be the one exception for actually leaving the main guy alone.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, oh, Wrench Group has a reputation amongst PE groups for embracing leadership.
Yeah, they're not the only one. There's one or two others that are out there.
Well, I mean, Paul Kelly and Parker and Sons is still there. Mm-hmm. You know, Paul probably sold in 2014 or 2015.
Who are the
He's
other?
still there.
Who are the
Jonathan Bancroft, Morris Jenkins.
Right.
Like they're in different roles now, but they're still involved, right?
A lot of the leaderships. Who are one or two more PE groups? Let's throw some love out there. We gave Wrench Group some love.
I would have to call Brandon Jacob up for that. I'm not going to be able to name off.
We're not giving you any credit. Mm-hmm. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I personally, Todd, I don't know much about any of the others, but I do have to say my experience with Wrench has been largely positive. You know. Yeah. Overwhelmingly positive. So
absolutely.
I mean, I stayed on 5 years, over 5 years,
which was a long time. Yeah. So, what's a decision you've seen PE push that hurts the customer experience, in your opinion, Matt?
They lose the community focus, and they cease to be part of the community. Mm-hmm. Right? They're now big corporate. They're not, local company with local concerns with the local community and being a part of it the way you see a lot of owners today.
Right.
Now, you've given us a lot of things already that's been a net positive, but is there one other thing that you've seen that PE does that helps performance that we haven't covered already?
They buy better.
They do buy better. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So where do independent owners misunderstand PE, do you think, Matt?
I think they overestimate their competence and their power in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, PE is in it for a limited period of time. Every group has formed to flip or to sell. The fund has got to expire, and they've got a 3 to 10 year time horizon. So from the start, they're looking at how can I jack up the numbers? What can I do to increase performance? What can I do to increase EBITDA and revenue beyond just acquisition, but I mean organically as well as by acquisition, so that I can take this bundle and claim that it's worth more, a greater multiple than what we paid for it, and flip it to somebody else. And they want to do that in a relatively short period of time. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that people don't really stop and think about. And if you look at PE's moves based on that, they all make sense.
Yeah. Well, it's two things, right? Revenue increases, generally revenue increases, so EBITDA should increase, and then the multiple on the EBITDA is going to increase based on the larger EBITDA.
Right.
So it's a win-win all the way around. Yeah.
One guy explained this to me one time. He's talking. Well, Steve Saunders at Tempo was talking about a company that was purchased by I think by Watsco, and I was looking at the numbers and I thought those numbers are incredible. And he says, well, think about it this way: Watsco is trading at this amount earnings per share, and this company is they bought them for this amount, which they throw that into the mix, and automatically their price that they paid is lower than their earnings per share, so they're automatically worth more.
Yeah.
Right. Plus, it gave them a little bit of an internet play at that time, which gave them another story to tell, which boosted their earnings per share a little bit beyond that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So think about this. Let's pick a company like, say, Amazon, and Amazon wants to get into the trade, wants to make an offering. Well, they can go out and they can buy a big consolidated company, pay a ridiculous amount, but when they fold it into Amazon, as long as they're paying less, a multiple that's lower than what Amazon is trading for, Amazon automatically is worth more the second they get added.
Yeah. Think about again if Amazon got into it. I think the thing that they would win so well at is a couple things. One, they would be able to instantly have the ability to purchase something with their system really quickly.
Yeah.
They would figure out upgrades when they got there, but the distribution capabilities,
Right.
that would be the thing. They're everywhere in every medium-sized town, 50,000 people. They have an Amazon distribution center. It would be nothing for them to add a little section with air conditioning. So yeah, they may get into it one day, but even if they do, I still, like you, don't think that will be the end of independent contracting.
No.
Not at all.
I think independent contracting will survive
I would
forever.
always.
Yeah, always. Yeah.
I think it's a bigger threat to distributors than it is to contractors.
Mhm.
Yep.
Because contractors might turn around and use Amazon as their distribution source.
Mhm.
How long would it take if Amazon decided that they wanted to, right? Like if you're leading Amazon, you're not just going to get into the air conditioning business. It's not going to be very long until you have, sure, we'll let all the air conditioning manufacturers put on here. Why wouldn't we? But they're going to have their Amazon Basic own brand line that they've either bought a manufacturing facility and
Yeah.
they're building it, or they've white labeled it so cheaply. So you're going to have your Amazon Basic air conditioner system too. But all
Made
right,
in
so
China.
yeah, well, of course, yeah, no question of that. All right, let's transition over to segment number 3, which are the 5 field moves. And Alan, let's start with move number 1. If you'd take us there, please.
Okay. So let's talk about win talent like your life depends on it. So if hiring shifts, Matt, over the next few years, what should strong companies do differently right now?
Well, they should have been doing this already. They don't. They need to approach recruiting like it's a marketing problem,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
How many contracting companies have a recruiting brochure? I mean, we put one together.
Mhm.
We put one together after we saw it from a contractor in Australia and asked if we could
Copy it.
do a little R&D, rob
Yeah.
and duplicate from it, and we did it for other contractors, and it made a huge difference. I remember when we were recruiting Jim Henshaw, high level sales guy, and we were recruiting him, and we sent this to Jim, he showed it to his wife, and the recruiting process, we're talking with Jim. He knows us. This is all good. And I've known Jim and May for 30 years, but there's a difference between, this tight interaction that we had. And then there's May who's getting all of her information from Jim. And what's the chance that Jim didn't tell May everything that he should have, And she gets this brochure from us and she's looking at it and she's going, I've never seen anything like this. Even when you worked for the train company, they never had anything like this. This is incredible. And that sold her, and they picked up roots from Phoenix and moved to Dallas in their 70s. So it can be a really powerful tool, not just for recruiting the employee, but recruiting the employee's spouse. I think that we ought to make sure that we've got databases of potential hires. Anytime anybody interviews us, we need to put them in that database. Anytime anybody works for us, if we think that this is a person that we might want to rehire at some point in the future, it stays in that database, and we need to market them. We need to stay in contact with them. we should also find benefits that the big companies aren't going to match. And again, I mentioned one of these. We would go to those vacation bundlers. The types where you do the you get the 3-day cruise or so you can buy those really cheap, and you buy them in 10 on a bulk package of 10 or 20 or something like that. Give them to your employees.
Yeah.
Right. Buy them and give them to your employees. It costs you $500 an employee, or even $1,000, and now you have paid for a vacation for your employee, and nobody can match that. And then that becomes really sticky, and that's hard for people to leave over, and it becomes really attractive for people to come join your company. What are the things that you can offer that don't cost a lot of money that nobody else can match?
I love this. So if we look at when talent, like a recruiting, let me start over. I got tongue tied. Sorry. I love this. On move number 1, it's win talent like your life depends on it. You said several things that if someone's listening, they can go back and start working on this Monday. So number 1 is approach recruiting like it's a marketing problem.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, create a brochure that highlights the benefits that you have to offer. Number 3, anytime someone's coming in, put them on a database and work on retaining them by remarketing to them, and find benefits, number 4 here, that other companies aren't going to match, like paid vacations, those inexpensive cruises, and just promote the heck out of that. So that's really good. Let's now move over to the second move that they can do Monday morning when they get there, which is to go service-centric while others are chasing installs. So you've said that many big groups won't truly become service-centric. Why is that?
Big groups won't become service-centric because they have sort of a corporate focus. They've got a financial focus, right? And service is I think service stems from servant leadership, and it stems from putting other people first, and what they put is the bottom line first, and their constituency is not the customer. Their constituency is the corporate people above them that they answer to.
Mm.
What should owners track weekly so service-centric isn't just talk, Matt? Like, how do you, in your opinion, ingrain that into your company and track it?
The traditional stuff: callbacks, reviews, service agreements, repeat customers.
Yeah.
I mean that's going to show you whether you've got a service environment, and I think a lot of it is just feel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got to have a feel for it as an owner, and you can't have a feel for it if you're detached. And that's
Right.
one of the reasons that the corporate environment is so antithetical to great service, because they don't have the feel. Nobody's there that has the feel in that local community and how that operation is performing.
I think even something as simple as making sure you're tracking service revenue separately from install revenue, so it highlights it on a weekly basis, right?
You've got to do that.
Is our service department growing? You'd be surprised how many people don't. Well, you wouldn't be surprised, Matt, but people would be surprised at how many people don't do that. But so I think it's super important, and I think the economy in the last few years, especially, has forced companies to focus more on service
Right.
than
Yeah.
just purely trying to sell installs, right? Because if people don't have money, they want the unit fixed rather than replaced,
And that's such a weird thing too, right? It's like the economy versus consumer confidence. Because
Right,
if we just look at the economy, it's like hitting record highs almost every day.
right.
But if you say that's the only measurement of economy, that's not true, right?
true.
There's consumer confidence, and what are the price of things for people today, and has their income gone up? So that's sort of, it's a little bit of that PE question, right? The stock market's looking fantastic, and if you're invested in it, hoorah. But if you're the average, Joe Public person, they're probably not looking at the stock markets to see how their life is. They're looking at their cash flow incomes from their paychecks and their expenses going out. But
Yeah.
let's hit with move number 3 here, Alan.
So in downturns, competitors cut visibility. Why is that a gift for strong operators?
Because they disappear from the marketplace.
Yeah.
Right. The best time to gain market share is during a downturn.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, it gets harder to find a customer. So what are you going to do? Are you going to put forth more effort to find a customer or less?
Right.
right? It's obvious you need to put forth more effort, and you can do it at the exact time your competitors are pulling back. So you're going to gain share, and that share is going to stay with you when everything turns. And instead of a headwind, you got a tailwind.
I've actually heard owners and operators saying, Matt, which causes me to scratch my head, what's the point in marketing when nobody's buying? You know, like I've actually heard, I'm not going to spend money on marketing because nobody's buying right now. Well, they're certainly not buying from you if you're not marketing,
When I worked at Titus, and I ran the VAV box division and DDC controls, I had perfect timing. Right when we went in there, high-rise office buildings declined like 34% over the next 2 years.
Oh,
Right?
wow.
That was our core.
Mm-hmm.
Had a great sales manager. The VP of the division was a really good salesperson, really strategic about all this. We fought and clawed, and we did everything we could to try to hang on to every sale we could. We outfought the competition in a myriad of ways, but during that downturn, we barely grew, but we gained 9.9 points in market share,
Mm-hmm.
and we let past our competitor and became the world leader.
Wow.
So I want to double click on that because I'm not sure if the average person picked up what you just put down. So if you're a contractor, you're a plumber, you're an air conditioning person, you're an electrician, what Matt's essentially saying is maybe you're down in revenue right now. You're down 34% by your example, and you're going, this sucks. This is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But if you were still investing in marketing, and marketing isn't just call to action, it's also branding. And you go back to where you were 2 years from now, but you've gained 9 points of market share. And if I understand market share, if you're at 15% of total market share, you're considered dominant. And if you gain 9 points, if you gain market share, that means that when people start spending money, you've taken the time to brand, you're going to way outscale your competition. Chances are unless your industry is just down, if it goes back to where it needs to be, you're going to be way up. So you're capturing future sales during downturns if you stay focused.
Here's the analogy that I use a lot of times, and I talk about if you're running a 5K race and you're out running with everybody and you get a headwind. And there's some people that are going to get tired and they're going to stop and they're going to walk. Some are even going to sit down. But if you put forth a little bit more effort, you can maintain the same pace, even though it's harder, but you can maintain the same pace against that headwind. And you're separating yourself from your competitors in the race because they've slowed down.
Hmm.
And then once you make the turn and that headwind becomes a tailwind, they're not going to make up that gap. And you're just going to be flying.
That is a really good analogy. I'm going to borrow that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What do independent contractors, or what can independent contractors do better locally that the large corporate companies are going to struggle with?
Let's start with community. I've talked about that several times
Yeah.
already, but the owner of independent can be involved personally in the community. Join the Rotary Club, get active in the chamber, join a Leads Club, build a personal network, become the local guy that everyone knows that you're the person to call for HVAC, for plumbing, for electrical, for roofing, for whatever. People discount the power of this, but it's the people who join Rotary or Lions or Kiwanis or Optimus or Civitan or any of these groups that are community centers of influence. And they're the people that are connected, and they're the people that others call for recommendations. So think about it this way. My Rotary Club has 65 members roughly. And let's say that they each have 250 independent contacts besides each other. That gives you a network one degree removed of about 16,000 people. Right. That's just from going to that one club and going there once a week for lunch. You're going to eat lunch anyway. You might as well eat lunch with community centers of influence.
Right.
So think about this. What's the process that people go through if they need a new contractor? The first thing that they do is they're going to ask a friend or a neighbor who they recommend. Yeah. Right. And if that doesn't work, then they're going to go to social media and they're going to tap their social media network, or they're going to go to Nextdoor and tap their neighborhood and say, who do you recommend? And if all those don't pan out, then they're going to go online and start looking for reviews and doing web searches. And the people that think it's all driven by digital are not even capturing, not even aware of all this stuff that's occurring first. And it's only when all that fails that digital comes into play.
Yep.
And it's not just community involvement, and it's not just digital. It's old grassroots marketing, like the type that I used to talk about with Comanche marketing. It's direct mail. It still works. Shared mail still works. You know, it's all of the old door hangers, all the old things that we've been talking about forever still work. Magnets still work.
Absolutely.
You know, but try not to have a white truck magnet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love what you said, and you get back to this thing called community, and you're spot on. It's like the example that we talked about earlier. Our friends, you had a friend reach out to you, I had a friend reach out to me, and they're still saying, "Who should I use?
Mm-hmm.
Where should I go?" And unless you don't know anyone that's connected to the industry, it's what you're going to do. You're going to do that if you need a colonoscopy. You're going to do that if you need an orthodontist. You're going to do that if you need a lawyer. You're going to do that if you need a CPA.
Yep.
You're asking people that you respect, who should I use first and foremost? And that's just another double down on why the independent can and should still be winning, because the independent's right there in that community. They grew up there.
Yeah.
They know people.
Well, here's another analogy for this. So the corporate marketing types, like if they were football teams, they'd be the ones that air it out. They're slinging the ball down the field, and you don't hear about all the incompletions. You do hear about the occasional, long touchdown that shows up on Sports Center.
Mm-hmm.
But the independent can still win the game by ground and pound, doing 4 or 5 and 10 yards at a play behind a strong offensive line and doing better blocking and tackling.
Yep.
And it's a
Absolutely.
sure way to score, and it may not be as flashy, but it's more certain.
Absolutely. Let's go to move number 4, which is to build a culture that doesn't need to be babysat all the time. So what does real culture look like when it's working? And I'm not talking about posters. I'm talking about actual behaviors that are being done daily.
It's self-management. It's, the boss doesn't have to manage every little thing because the culture is managing it. People do things a certain way because that's the way we do things here. Peter Drucker, the management guru, said that culture eats strategy for breakfast. What Drucker meant was that great strategy has to be executed or it's no good.
Yeah.
But culture is self-executing, right? So great culture means people are doing the right thing even when nobody is looking. And if we go back to the COVID times, at Service Nation, we did a forum of, I think, 8 contractors who had the easiest time transitioning from pre-COVID to in COVID, and we're still doing well. And every single one of them, to a person, didn't know this was going to happen. Every single one of them credited their culture.
Yeah.
No question.
Interesting. So I look at this question and I think to myself, I wish this never happened to me, but it has. What do you do with a high producer who breaks culture?
Give him the opportunity to improve or invite him to find another culture where he fits. All of us have hesitated to remove prima donnas who produce, who perform.
Yeah.
But there's a day that comes and it's finally too much, and we bite the bullet and we exit the guy. And we're worried about what's going to happen to the company's performance. We're worried about all the teammates that, what's everybody going to say. And before the day is out, you got somebody that comes up to you. I was wondering when you were going to do that.
Exactly.
It's about time.
Yeah.
And then to your surprise, the company performs better without this top performer. How can that happen? Well, it's because we underestimate the damage that kowtowing to this prima donna does to the rest of the team. And no one in a company, no one is indispensable. And that includes the owner.
Well, the truth is the customers don't go away, right? Those customers that he was selling to are still going to be there.
Yep.
And, in every case that we have replaced somebody that was a top producer, somebody has stepped into the throne, right? Someone has stepped up. So, yeah, I think it's human nature to be scared to do it, Matt, but I think in every case it's a good thing when it happens.
It's like firing a big customer who is killing your company.
Yeah.
You think you this. I fired a $100,000 client when I was a marketing consultant. Not a lot of $100,000 clients out there.
Yeah.
I was terrified to do this. I finally did it. The next day I got up, the sun was shining, the sky was blue, the birds were singing, my team was happy, and somehow, some way, we more than made up for this guy within 6 months. I don't know how it happened.
Yeah.
I just think that we were killing ourselves trying to support somebody who really wasn't our customer.
Yeah.
Right. And sometimes we kill ourselves adjusting for somebody who's really not a good teammate.
Yeah.
Right.
If I were to just give a piece of advice, and this is something that internally us as an executive team said, this is a thing that we're going to operate by. If we find ourselves having repeated conversations about a team member that is causing anxiety, they're breaking culture, and we've like, hey, this is the third time that we've had this conversation. It's probably time to exit that person.
Yeah.
Because
Totally agree.
what happens, and it's not necessarily written down here, but one of the things that I've experienced firsthand is the person's not fit for the culture, but they're not in your brain bad enough to fire, but they occupy your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And when a team member is occupying your brain, not in a positive way, but you're wondering what's going on in the back of your head, it's just time to move on, because you're going to find out. You're going to find out oftentimes the hard way that you wish you would have done a long time ago.
See, you know somebody's not going to work, and you keep trying to save them because it's part of your ego wrapped up in this. And it's not their fault necessarily that they're working for you, but and you persist for because you just don't want to fail. And really what you got to understand is you're not doing that person any favor, and you're not doing your team any favor.
Nope.
And the sooner you let that person go, the sooner that person can find someone where he or she can succeed. And I have never had a situation to where I had to fire somebody that they weren't better off in a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, getting to the point to where you recognize that you are not a savior of anyone, and that they're not family, they're a team. It's a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
With the family, you don't give up on them, right? But
I
I ain't qualified to by anyone's savior.
I know contractors that have fired their mothers. I know a contractor who fired his wife. And that
I
was,
didn't mean it in that sense. I mean,
that was
I
he
meant it in a different sense.
didn't fire her from being his wife, at least not that decade.
Yeah.
But that was the right move for the team.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I know a contractor who his nephew showed up, and I don't know what prompted it, but they were looking in his truck, and he had a reefer in there, and he said, "Sorry,
Yep.
you're gone.
Mm-hmm.
You've chosen to exit."
Yeah.
The essence of this move of culture is you have to do what's right, even when it's hard.
Yeah.
That's the essence of it.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
Yeah.
So, Matt, what's the best way an independent builds a moat when everyone claims they do the same work?
It's marketing 101. What makes you different? What makes you different from your competitors? How can you stand out? Now, I can remember working with a manufacturer as a client when I was a marketing consultant, and he only sold through trade distributors. And so I thought this is a big advantage because some of his competitors sell through the big boxes. And I said, let's market this. Let's make a big deal about it. He said, nope, can't do that because one day we might sell through big boxes. So because of what he might do, not what he was doing, he hurt himself or he failed to take advantage of an opportunity. Really, what he was worried about was this was something he might do in the future. And he was scared of defining himself. But part of marketing is you get to define what you do and inherently what you do not do, right? And nobody's going to get 100% market share. So don't worry about the people you won't appeal to. Focus on the people who will be attracted to your message and the people that will want you. Years ago, Bob Veering wrote a Yellow Pages ad for Gary Katz in Minneapolis. And this is back when the Yellow Pages, man, this is you screw this up, you're in trouble for a year. And the headline of the ad was, if you're looking for the lowest price, keep looking. And then he proceeded to explain why they charged more and why they were worth it. And really it was a brilliant ad because what happened was the price shoppers went on and he didn't have to try to deal with them. And the people that were interested in paying a little bit more, that money wasn't, the price wasn't a
Biggest
big
thing,
deal.
yeah.
They wanted service and value. He got those. So
Nice. Yeah.
Very good. So, what incentive structure do you think actually creates ownership thinking in a company?
ownership incentive structure, pay for performance, obviously. The business professor Michael LaBeouf wrote the book about the greatest management principle. And the greatest management principle is what gets rewarded gets done. That's right. So if you reward time on the job, you reward hours on the job will take plenty of time. It will take plenty of hours. If you reward profitable work, you're going to get more of that. So with today's computer systems, there's no reason that we can't have a P&L for every truck, financial statement for every truck. At the very least, we can reward on trucks' gross profit, its contribution to the company overhead. Look, people are smart. They're going to figure out ways to work smarter, to be more efficient, ways to boost their average tickets. And there's an element of this that causes people to panic, and they swear, well, that's, and there's a guy in Dallas that we don't pay commissions, we as though that's inherently causes corruption. Well, if incentives cause corruption, if commissions cause corruption, if paying for performance causes corruption, then every owner in the industry is corrupt, because that's how we're all paid.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
And frankly, it's insulting to assume that just because you pay somebody a commission, he is going to sell somebody something he doesn't need, or he's going to do the wrong thing. Right? Now, you do have to have quality control in place, and you have to check on things, and you got to have the right culture. But if everybody else is paid for performance, then the owner is also paid for performance.
That's good. So I very much like that. I love that line, and I'll have to go back and rewatch it because I want to write it down. But it's wrong to think that everyone is corrupt that's paid for performance, because every owner is paid for performance. It's not exactly how you said it, but it's the essence of it. And I go, yeah, of course, that's it, right? The better we do, the more we make as business owners.
Yeah.
All right, so the next segment of what we're going to do, Matt, is we're going to go into rapid fire questions. This is just an opportunity for us to give you a question, and you just fire back with a rapid response.
All right, Matt. So one thing owners should stop doing immediately.
Stop watching the news, read the trade press, listen to more podcasts, listen to books on tape.
I love it.
Audio tape. I guess they aren't on tape anymore. Listen to audio books.
Quick story, Todd, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
2008. So we were like $5 million in sales, and everybody was talking about how bad the year was going to be going into the year. It was also an election year. It was going to be awful. So very first meeting of the year, I said, guys, look, apparently there's going to be a recession, and I want you all to know we are not participating in it. Right? And literally I kept that up every meeting. We're not participating. Stay off the news. Well, we had a commercial customer. His name is Rock Dawson, and he owned a fabrication plant that made steel flanges. And he calls me one day and he says, hey, are you running a cult over there? And I said, no, Rock, why? And we were friends. And he said, I had Frank here. And he said, I asked him how y'all were doing in the recession. And Frank, without blinking, said, oh, we're not participating in that, and kept walking. And like, what you put out there gets received, right?
No question.
I mean, it's this negative self-talk is just not a good thing. So I love it, Matt.
What's a deep recession?
I have no idea.
3%. A 3% decline. You look at the average recession is less than 3%. 3%. What's the seasonal variation in the industry? It's a lot more than 3%.
That's right.
Look,
yeah.
3% you can make up just by a little bit more effort.
Yeah.
I mean, we can overcome a recession. Just don't participate.
Yeah, I totally agree. One thing they should start doing this week, owners, Matt.
Call one customer every day and thank them for being the customer, and just see how they're doing. No sales in it at all. Just call them and talk to them, or leave a message on their voicemail.
Yep. One metric that tells the truth, no matter what the headlines say.
Bank account. Size of the bank account.
I love it. Yeah.
Matt, what's one PE advantage that any independent can implement without selling their business?
What's one PE advantage that anybody can implement without selling their business?
Yeah, they can just copy.
They can buy better. They can join one of the affinity groups that has a buying group, and they can buy better than their competitors. Maybe they don't buy as good as PE, but they'll narrow the gap considerably.
What's one thing that PE does that is going to be hard for an independent to easily replicate?
Um, Repeat that question again.
Yeah, so if they can buy better by joining groups, that's something they can easily replicate. What's something that's not easy for an independent to replicate that PE can do?
Uh, their financial backing.
Mm.
I mean, there's money in the bank, and they've got funds behind them. They've got the ability to borrow that the individual contractor does not have.
And that's probably really the ultimate advantage that they have compared to the contractor, I think, because you can learn what they know. You can ask people, you can leverage your buy. A lot of guys can buy better if they just would try. They're not even trying. But having access to deep, deep capital isn't always available to
Yeah.
everybody. That's a good point. All right, listener, this is part one of our interview with Matt and Michel. In this episode, we dove deep on private equity, how it's affecting your business, and what you can do to still win in the marketplace. I want you to come back and listen to part number two. We're going to explore a new topic that you're going to find deeply interesting. So if you are enjoying this episode, make sure you look forward to the next one as we revisit with Matt and Michel. And as always, Alan, thank you for being my partner in this journey.
Thank you, Todd.
And if you're enjoying this, click the like button, share it with a friend, and tell folks about the $100 million mindset.
Hey, thanks so much for watching the show this week. Head over to toddliles.com/mindset to get the show notes. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow so you never miss a new episode of the show. And if you enjoyed this episode, then share it. It really helps us get the word out. You've been watching the $100 Million Mindset with Alan O'Neill and Turtleneck Todd Liles.